The Galactic Coalition Academy's training hall stretched 300 meters in every direction, its crystalline walls humming with defensive shields. Rain stood at the firing line, his dark hair matted with sweat, watching the holographic targets flicker in and out of existence. Around him, cadets from a dozen different species practiced their marksmanship, their weapons crackling with energy that could stun, disable, or worse. He'd been at the academy for 6 months now, one of only 3 humans in a class of 200. The others treated him politely enough. Humans were curiosities, newcomers to the galactic stage, their planet barely colonized beyond their own solar system. But polite didn't mean equal. "Earthborn," a voice called from behind him. Rain turned to see Commander Vask, a towering Crowleen with 4 arms and scaled purple skin. "You're up for live partner drills." Rain's stomach dropped. Live drills meant facing another cadet with actual scanner bolts, non-lethal rounds that could still break bones if they connected. He'd only done simulation work so far. "With respect, Commander, I haven't been cleared for—" "You have now." Vask's horizontal pupils narrowed. "Your opponent is already waiting." Rain walked to the center ring where a crowd had begun to gather. His opponent stood in the opposite circle, and his breath caught. She was human, the first human he'd seen in weeks besides his own reflection. She stood maybe 5'7" with auburn hair pulled back in a tight braid, wearing the standard Academy combat suit. But there was something different about her stance, the way she held herself with absolute certainty. "Avery Chen," she said, not offering her hand. "Earth, Pacific Sector." "Rain Malik, Atlantic Sector." He fumbled with his scanner rifle, checking the charge. "I didn't know there were other humans in advanced combat training." "There aren't." Her gray eyes fixed on him with unsettling intensity. "I'm not in your class." Before he could ask what she meant, Commander Vask's voice boomed across the hall. "Standard engagement rules. First to 3 hits wins. Scanner bolts only. Begin on the tone." Rain raised his rifle, heart hammering. Avery simply stood there, hands at her sides, weapon holstered on her hip. Around them, the alien cadets whispered among themselves. Several were placing bets on their data pads. The tone sounded. Rain fired immediately, a clean shot aimed at her center mass, exactly as he'd been trained. The blue bolt streaked across the distance, and for a moment he thought he'd actually managed to catch her off guard. Then Avery moved. Her hand blurred upward, and the impossible happened. She caught the scanner bolt mid-air, the energy crackling around her fingers like captured lightning. The hall went silent. "Earthborn," she said, her voice carrying across the stunned crowd. "Try again." She crushed the bolt in her fist. It dissipated in a shower of sparks. Rain's mind reeled. Scanner bolts traveled at near light speed. They were designed to be unavoidable, impossible to intercept. That was the whole point. Yet she'd plucked it from the air like catching a ball. "That's impossible," he breathed. "Is it?" Avery finally drew her weapon, a modified scanner pistol that looked ancient compared to the standard Academy issue. "Humans evolved on a death world, Rain. 1.05 G gravity. Predators in every shadow. Our reflexes aren't just good. They're supernatural by galactic standards." She fired. Rain barely managed to dive behind a barrier, the bolt scorching the air where he'd stood. His instructors had always told him humans were middle-tier physically. Not as strong as Crowleens, not as fast as the insectoid Zirka. But watching Avery move was like watching a different species entirely. "The Coalition doesn't advertise what Earthborns can really do," she continued, her voice casual as she stalked around the barrier. "They like us underestimated, keeps us useful." Rain popped up, fired 3 rounds in rapid succession. Avery sidestepped the first, ducked under the second, and caught the third with her bare hand again. She hurled it back at him. He felt the impact against his chest plate, the hit counter on his wrist flashing red. 1-0. "You grew up in the colonies, didn't you?" Avery asked. "Artificial gravity, filtered air, safety protocols. She vaulted over a barrier with inhuman grace. I grew up in the mountains of Tibet, 2 miles above sea level. Thin air, real weather, real danger. Rain scrambled backward, firing wildly. She wove through his shots like they were moving in slow motion, closing the distance between them. When she was 3 meters away, she didn't even bother shooting. She simply waited for him to run dry. Click. His rifle's charge depleted. "The Zerka can see in 12 spectrums," Avery said, walking toward him. "The Krolines can lift 3 tons. The Vex can process information 1,000 times faster than us." She tapped her temple. "But humans? We're persistence hunters, endurance predators. We don't quit, we don't break, and we damn sure don't slow down." She pressed her pistol to his chest plate. 2 more shots in rapid succession. The counter blinked. 3-0. The match was over. The crowd erupted, not in cheers, but in shocked chatter. Rain heard fragments of conversation in a dozen languages, all expressing the same disbelief. Commander Vask pushed through the crowd, his forearms crossed. "Instructor Chen," he said, and Rain's eyes widened. "Instructor?" "My apologies, Commander," Avery said, holstering her weapon. "You said you wanted me to demonstrate human capabilities to the new recruits. I thought a practical lesson would be more effective than a lecture." Vask's expression was unreadable. "Effective, yes. Diplomatic, no." He turned to address the crowd. "What you witnessed is the result of evolution on a Class 9 death world. Humans possess reflexes, pattern recognition, and spatial awareness that exceed galactic norms by significant margins. This is why Earth, despite being a recent addition to the Coalition, contributes disproportionately to Special Operations Forces." Rain's head spun. Everything he'd been told, everything he'd believed about humanity's place in the galaxy, it had all been carefully managed information. Avery extended her hand to him, a genuine smile finally breaking through her stern demeanor. "No hard feelings, Rain. You did well for someone trained off-world. Give it a few years of real gravity and real training, and you'll be catching bolts, too." He took her hand, still dazed. "Is it true? All of it?" "Every word." She pulled him to his feet. "Welcome to the Academy. Now you know what Earthborn really means." As the crowd dispersed and training resumed, Rain looked down at his hands. The same hands that had seemed so ordinary 6 months ago. He thought of Earth's jungles, its deserts, its oceans, teeming with predators. He thought of ancestors who'd survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. He picked up his rifle, checked the charge, and returned to the firing line. This time, when the targets appeared, he didn't just aim. He felt the weapon as an extension of himself, felt the rhythm of his heartbeat, the breath in his lungs, the ancient instincts encoded in his DNA. The bolt flew true. And for the first time since arriving at the Academy, Rain understood what it meant to be human in a galaxy that had forgotten what survival really cost.